Resuming debate, the honourable member for Calgary Forest Lawn.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It was all a dream, as Biggie Smalls once said, where he laid out a vision of his own experience with growing up with absolutely nothing, putting in hard work, with determination, being raised by a single mom, and making something of himself. And similarly, that's what the Canadian dream used to be. That's something my family came here for, and millions of other Canadians came here for. And Canada used to be the kind of country where you put in hard work, you do the right things, play by the rules, you could afford a house, you could buy affordable groceries, and most importantly, buy a house in safe neighborhoods. That's what Canada used to be. But after 9 years of this corrupt Liberal-NDP government, that Canadian dream is broken. It's gone. In fact, for most of the people that are coming here, that Canadian dream is the Canadian nightmare, where drugs, chaos, crime, disorder, extortions are running rampant because of failed soft-on-crime policies. It's this government, this Liberal-NDP government, that doubled housing costs, that made the cost of groceries go up, that forced 2 million Canadians into a food bank, and for the first time that I've ever heard of in my life, where 1 in 4 Canadians are skipping meals, and that includes children. That's what failed Liberal-NDP policies have done. Yep. And they did it for votes. They did it for votes. When they spent more money, they put more debt on taxpayers than every single prime minister before them combined. That caused the inflation crisis, that caused the pain and suffering we're seeing in Canadians today. But if anyone thinks this is some accident or oops, we didn't know what we were doing, it's actually the opposite. They knew exactly what they were doing. This prime minister, who's also known as a narcissist, wants to play the hand of God all the time. He causes the problem and then wants to look like the savior, that I am your savior, I will fix this problem for you. But Canadians know that it's this Liberal-NDP government that have caused this suffering. Housing used to be something that was affordable, where it didn't take up more than 50% of a paycheck. It took 9 years of this government, and now it takes 60 to 80% of a paycheck. That doesn't leave much at the end of the month for people. That paycheck isn't as powerful. And then when they go to the grocery store or go fill up gas, because of the carbon tax scam, more and more is being taken up. It's gone to a point where now Canadians are the most indebted households in the entire G7. Housing takes up so much, and everything else is up under this government because of their inflationary policies. That's why now we're seeing business and personal insolvencies skyrocketing like we've never seen before. But if you hear this Liberal-NDP government, everything is fine to them. Right. It doesn't bother them that 2 million Canadians are visiting a food bank. They talk about all these extravagant things all the time. It's because they're not talking to any of those 2 million that are waiting in a food bank, the ones that are going insolvent, those ones that have to skip meals. They're not talking to any of them. They're only talking to those Liberal insiders, rewarding them with hefty government contracts. Those are the only people that this Liberal-NDP government is talking to. And this costly coalition has taxed the middle class to death. It's not just the carbon tax scam, which again is a total scam that doesn't stop a single forest fire or flood and also doesn't reduce emissions, but on top of that, it takes more money out of pockets of Canadians than what they get back. That's why it's a scam. So not only is the middle class getting hit with that, but there's a second carbon tax scam where there's no so-called rebate at all, which makes things even more expensive. They've hiked taxes, and now they brought in this job-killing capital gains tax hike that for many families is a punishment for their life's entire work and success. It was those same people, it was that plumber that opened his own business, worked sometimes 12 to 16 hours a day, dollar for dollar saved up, put their kids through college, put their kids through university, barely made it through, sometimes didn't pay themselves just so they could pay their employees, who might have done this, what is a punishment now, is save up to maybe buy a plaza that they considered as their retirement later on. But the government thought that's too greedy of them. It's too greedy of them. They're going to be doing too well. And so now they're going to punish them with this job-killing capital gains tax hike. They did everything by the rules. They suffered. They suffered through this government. And they know now that success is punished in this country. They don't even let people enjoy drinks because they keep raising the escalator tax. And the economic pain and the destruction they've done to the Canadian economy is unbelievable. In fact, $460 billion of Canadian investment fled to the US. That means it went to American workers, American infrastructure, American pipelines, when it should have stayed right here at home. It's because of these failed Liberal-NDP policies that's what happened. I recall seeing headlines in 2014 under a strong, common-sense Conservative government that said the American dream has moved to Canada. And just recently, the Toronto Star, out of all people, the Toronto Star, came out with an article that said that the Canadian dream is gone, it's fled to the US. That's 9 years of economic vandalism by this Liberal-NDP government. They've over-regulated, overburdened, over-red taped, over-bureaucracy is the theme of this government, so much so that no one wants to build anything here, make anything in here, manufacture anything here, or in fact live here anymore. That's what this government has done. Hundreds of thousands of bright people leaving our country because they see no hope here. Canada used to look like the beacon of hope. It used to be a place that people used to talk about, that we can't wait to move there. But now, Canada has not only become a laughingstock because of this joke of a prime minister, but it's become a place that when people move here, they say that that promise, it was a lie all along, that you could work hard and get somewhere. It's because this government will do any and everything to attack hard work, a powerful paycheck, and most important, success. They don't want anyone to be successful unless they're Liberal connected insiders. And it's clear to see that Canadians are getting poorer and their paychecks don't go further. Our GDP per person, or the success of an individual that lives here, is diminishing quarter after quarter after quarter. So as this government says, things are great here, Canadians are falling further and further behind, especially our workers, are falling further and further behind than our American counterparts. But it's time. It's time now. Canadians have had enough. They're calling for a carbon tax election now. It's time for the leader of the NDP to put the greed of his $2.2 million pension aside, and it's time to go to an election to give Canadians the choice. Rather than having this Liberal-NDP government, the radical, wacko ideology of this carbon tax scam that they're absolutely obsessed with, put it to Canadians. We already know a majority of them don't want this carbon tax scam. So why don't we leave it to Canadians to decide whether they want more of taxing your food and success and your fuel under this costly coalition, or do they want a common sense Conservative government under the leadership of the member from Carleton that will axe the tax, build the homes, fix the budget, and stop the crime, and once again bring home that Canadian dream and that Canada that we all love and once used to know about, the one that millions of Canadians used to be proud of, the one that we used to stand tall behind our Canadian flag wherever we went, that has become a joke under this Prime Minister. Let's bring that Canada home once again under a common sense Conservative government. Let's bring it home, Mr. Speaker.